I think we can all agree that one of the health conditions that's top of mind for women is breast cancer. But did you know that women are actually 5 times more likely to die from heart disease? It begs the question, why don't we talk about it more?
Absolutely. Well, thankfully, our next guest is here with all the details on what we need to know about heart disease in women and how we can best protect ourselves. Everyone, please welcome Dr. Sheila Wijayasinghe. Back to the show.
Okay, Dr. Sheila, when we say heart disease, it is an umbrella term for a number of conditions. So let's quickly sort of go over the most common types of heart disease.
So heart disease is an all-encompassing term for all forms of heart disease. We often think about heart attack as mainly heart disease, but it also includes stroke, any disease of the blood vessels, anything like clots that happen as well. These are all the different ways that you can be affected by heart disease, so it goes beyond heart attack. And what's important to note is that every 22 minutes in Canada, a woman dies from heart disease.
Wow.
And so it's important that we're here talking about it, and because prevention is key. 80% of it is preventable. And so we're here to talk about it and help each other to do well.
Wow. Well, you can tell by the reaction everybody has. I think if people were to be asked, what do you think is the #1 killer, it would be breast cancer,
Right.
but it's heart disease. But at the same time, only 2/3 of heart disease clinical research has been focused, most of it's been focused on men.
Yeah.
So how does that affect women with our diagnosis with heart disease?
It impacts us greatly. And so in many parts of medicine, research is done on male patients. And as a result, we can't apply the findings to women as well. And women are different than men. We are physiologically different. Our hearts are smaller. The arteries that are affected by heart disease in women actually develop plaque in the smaller arteries, not the larger arteries as they do in men. And as a result, the standard tests that we use, like angiograms and stress tests that were done and developed based on male studies, are done on women, but we're missing diagnoses as a result. And they're not as sensitive in women. So we need to push for more research and push for more change.
Wow. Are younger women at risk too?
Yeah, so about 45% of women over the age of 20 have some form of cardiovascular disease. So it can affect us all at different ages.
Well, there's a new study at Women's College that's aiming to combine mammographies with heart disease tests. Talk to us about that. That sounds fantastic.
It is amazing because finally we're finding ways of finding women-specific risk factors, right? So in mammography, we know that calcium deposits in breast arteries have been correlated to heart disease risk in women. So this study, it's called the Beacon study, and it's pairing mammography with CT scans of the heart to see if there's a correlation between that so we can be more firm in knowing and find these extra risk factors to be able to detect heart disease earlier.
Oh, that's great.
It's amazing.
So do women have different risk factors for heart disease?
So we share traditional risk factors with males. So the traditional ones being smoking risk, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, but women seem to be more affected by this. So even though we share that, we are a little bit more sensitive. The other women-specific risk factors are things related to hormones. So throughout our lives, our hormone levels fluctuate. So earlier in life, we might be taking birth control pills that might increase our blood pressure and increase the risk of blood clots. In pregnancy, we're at risk of gestational diabetes and preeclampsia. So if you had any of those conditions in pregnancy, it does put you at a higher risk later in life as well. And then we think about perimenopause and menopause. Estrogen is actually a protective hormone for the heart, and it decreases in this age group. And as a result, our risk factors increase. And in our offices, we're seeing more and more women in their 40s coming in with increased levels of risk factors that we've never seen before to this level of high blood pressure, diabetes, and cholesterol. So that combination of our hormonal change plus those risk factors really magnifies the risk for premature heart disease in women in levels that we've never seen before.
So as we get older, should we be getting our hormone levels to make sure our estrogen is at a good level?
So we can test it. It's not a great accurate measure. We just know that it's a risk factor. So it's something to consider for menopause hormonal therapy later on to protect yourself.
All right, well, we also know that trans and women of color are at higher risk for heart disease. So talk to us about the importance of that.
Thank you for bringing that up. I think that's such an important factor. We know there's a disproportionate level of heart disease and stroke in women of color and in Indigenous women in Canada as well. And we often attribute that to things like socioeconomic status and lack of access to care. The truth is that there is systemic racism within medicine, and that affects the ability for women to get the care that they need. So it's not just gender-based bias that we see, it's also race-based bias. And as a result, women are dismissed more often, but women who are Black and women who are Indigenous and women of color are dismissed even more so. We also see that translate into our trans patients who may be on gender-affirming hormonal therapy but are not being monitored regularly because they do face an inordinate amount of discrimination and as a result do not get regular screening.
All right, so how do we address that? What do you do?
So we talk about it, right? So we discuss it like we're doing here. We talk about the risk factors, we talk about these things and raise awareness, and we advocate for change.
Yeah, and this information you've given us is so important, a little alarming, but it's very important to know. So what steps can women take to safeguard their heart health?
So I think prevention is key, right? So talking about it, discussing it. So prevention is one of the key pieces to that. So having a healthy lifestyle, discussing your getting exercise, those sorts of things are very key. Risk factor assessment and screening regularly. So I hope today that everybody goes home and thinks about your risk factors, talk to your friends and family about this. Do you have high blood pressure, diabetes, or high cholesterol? If you don't know, go to your doctor and get screened for this. If you have risk factors, go regularly to your doctor to get screened because that's important. Third, I think it's important to know if you have symptoms, get help. And if you're being turned away, get help, ask again, and say, I'm worried about my heart. And we have to start listening. It's a deficiency in the healthcare system that we need to listen to women more. And finally, let's talk about it like we're doing today. And let's shout it from the rooftops. Heart disease affects women.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Sheila, for all of this very important information. I know I'm booking my appointment as soon as the show is done, and hopefully everybody else.
I think everybody is.
Too.
Everyone's like, what?
All right, thank you. Always such great information. You guys stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey there, what did you think? Drop your comments below and join the conversation. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you can find more on everything from food and fashion to pop culture and current events. See you soon.